Good morning, brothers and sisters in Christ. Thank you for joining us this morning. For today's sermon is about staying in control. Before we start, I'd like to invite all of us to bow our heads and say, Lord Father in heaven, we thank you for giving us this time to be here. We ask that you bless us as we go through the message today, that you will touch our hearts and help us to be comforted, help us to be inspired, and help us to know that you are in control of our lives. Take care of us and bless us on this Saturday in Jesus' name. Amen. Today I'd like to talk a topic that is close to everyone's heart. In this second round of CMCO, many worries happen, and many of you also have friends and families who are in pandemic crisis areas like Klang, like Sabah, Oretade, East Coast, and now Sarawak as well. So today I want to speak to you right from the Bible verses itself. Not my words, but what does the Bible say when we are feeling anxious, when we are feeling that life is not safe. As we all know, in this year, this photo actually really tells us how this world is good. The whole earth is closed for business. Many people are suffering. Many people are worried about their jobs, about their income, about their schooling, their exams. So what does the Bible tell us? Or how should we feel? I would like to refer to our text for this sermon today, found in Philippians chapter 4, verse 6. It says very clearly, do not be anxious for anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, present your requests to God. We're not to worry, but to pray, to petition God to take care of us. And finally, with thanksgiving, living with a grateful heart as we present this request to God. This is a very interesting text because it says that we are to have a thanksgiving heart as we present to God. That means God is ever willing to answer our prayer. God is ever willing to take care of our needs, even as we ask them. So this is a text that will help us today. But let's set the context for today. In the world of pandemics, this is not new. This is something that we have always been with us. Maybe we have forgotten about it, maybe as life becomes good, we somehow think that, well, this is very difficult for us. But let's review some flu pandemic from the last century. You heard of the Spanish flu because it has been often compared to the flu with COVID-19. But that actually is not exactly the same. If you look at the bottom here, you find that the flu is the H1N1 virus, right? And you know that the H1N1 virus recently installed too long ago, right? This is by far one of the biggest pandemic we've ever experienced in history. And estimates are right because data collection was not very accurate. It's anywhere from 17 to 100 million people died. It infected 500 million to 1 billion people. But because the world population was much smaller than, it's actually about 33 to 56% of the world population. So that was a very significant statistics. As you move on to 1950s, we have the Asian flu. The estimated 1 to 4 million people died and infected more than 500 million people as well. But the world population was much bigger. Therefore, it's only about 17% of the world population was affected. But this was called the H2N2 virus. And as we move on, 1968, we have the Hong Kong flu. Similarly, about the same number of people died from it. More than 500 people were infected. But as a population of the world, it was a little smaller, about 14%. This was called the H3N2 virus. So you can see that's why the numbering system. Virus has always been with us, and pandemic has always been with us. And let's come to something a lot more recent. The swine flu in 2009. This is, as I said, there was an H1N1 virus that started. And about 500,000 people died. It affected about 700 to 1.4 billion people. And about 10 to 20% of the world population. They were significant. Right? And today, in COVID-19, we don't know the final tally yet, but we do know that many people have died. We also know that as the world population is a lot bigger today, many people are affected. And this is probably one pandemic where each one of us have lived through it because of the lockdown, because our jobs are affected, because we can't freely go out, and face mask has been with us as a constant companion. So what are we to make of this? This morning I would like to think about 3 things with you. Firstly, it's about things that we can control. What are things we can control? We can control our country, the politicians. You know there are so many things going on, and it seems like people have time for more trivial things than saving lives and keeping our economy going. And so you may have very different opinions of each of the events that happen in our country politically. But I leave it to you. But you know that there's very little we can do about it. You cannot control our neighbors. Our neighbors may have funny ideas, right? I'll give you one example. When you go to shopping and you go and buy some groceries, you go to the supermarket, what do you notice when you come to the car park? Did you notice lots of face masks on the floor? And it's one of the things that really makes me wonder. If we are truly a citizen, a good citizen, why do we leave potentially contaminated face masks lying around, exposed? Should they be disposed carefully, properly in the rubbish bin? We can't control it because we don't even know who left that face mask on the car park next to you or as you walk to your car. We can get frustrated, we can get worried, we can get angry, but there's not much we can do beyond that. And we can't control our critics as well. If there are people who criticize us, or why do you still go to the office? Why do you still have to do your business? Why do you still have some meetings in the office? Why do you just stay home? Why are you so scared? Why can't you do something? These are the things where people have opinion about your actions, your decisions, the way you look at things, but there's nothing you can do beyond just saying that I don't like things. And our circumstances. No, year 2020 is a year you wish that you don't have. What else can you do? Time moves on. The year is coming to an end, but it's like we haven't made much progress in March as in October. So these are things we can't really control. Well, what about things that you can control? Let me take you through some of them. I have 7 here. Our thoughts, our tempers, our tongue, turmoil, terror, our time, and our treasure. Let's go through them one by one. Our thoughts. In Proverbs 23:7 says that for as he thinks in his heart, so is he. These are things we can do better. If we think negatively, if we think terrible thoughts, if we think unkind thoughts about people, these are things we can pray, we can meditate, we can make ourselves be better control of how we think. Because the Bible says what we think is what we are. 2 Corinthians chapter 10 it says that, you know, we live in a world where many things are, what's the word? Not just physical, but every thought that we have is a battle between good and evil. And then if we don't guard our thoughts, they are likely to be taken advantage of by Satan. And Galatians chapter 6 says that if anyone thinks they are something they are not, they are deceiving themselves. We should know our weaknesses, our tendencies to sin, our tendency to complain, to say that things are not fair, that life is hopeless. If we guide our thoughts and turn our thoughts to God in prayer and in our Bible studies and in our Christian walk, these are things we can control. We can control our labor thoughts, or we can control our thoughts. What about our temple? In 2 Timothy 3 it says that there will be terrible times. Verse 2 says people are lover themselves, lover of money, boastful, unholy, ungrateful. Yeah? We're slanderous. We are lack of self-control. All these things. A world that's out of control. It sounds like some people today that many things are not right. Right? People are angry. You look at the television where people are protesting and breaking the laws instead of just protesting legally. Right? They actually destroy properties that are innocent. They have nothing to do with the issues at hand. Galatians chapter 5 also says that the fruit of the Spirit, right? Love, joy, peace, and forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. These are where we can focus our attention on becoming a better person. What about our tongues? The Bible has a lot to say about our tongues. In James chapter 3 it says that no human being can tame the tongue is a restless evil, full of deadly poison. Yeah, the Bible knows that our tongues are dangerous. In Proverbs chapter 17 it says, even fools are not wise if they keep silent, and discerning if they hold their tongues. Now this is like a modern quote today that says that mostly people attributed that to Abraham Lincoln or Mark Twain, which says that it's better to keep your mouth shut than to open your mouth and confirm that you are a fool. Yeah? So sometimes it's good to hold our tongue, not to comment everything unfiltered. Yeah? Particularly in this crisis time where people are more sensitive, people are worried, and sometimes we should not judge what people are worried about, and their actions may be because of the result of their anxiety. Now let's be more compassionate, let's be more kind in this time. Let's continue. Turn on, Job chapter 20, it says that my troubled thoughts prompt me to answer because I am greatly disturbed. Job was angry, he was going through a lot of suffering, just as we may be going through as well. I know that many of us who have suffered through people, your loved ones, your friends, even colleagues, people that you know, who may have someone in their family pass away because of COVID-19. They may have lost their job. They may have suffered greatly in many different ways. Let us be more compassionate. Let us know that when we are disturbed, we may not be the way we are. John chapter 13 says that the churning inside me never stop. Days of suffering confronts me. If I'm speaking to you and as you read this verse, you are going through that, know that God is with us. David, the psalmist, says that I am feeble and utterly crushed, I groan in anguish of heart. But God says we can turn to Him. That in times of trouble, in times of great need, we have to take our petition to God. With thanksgiving, remember that in Philippians chapter 4. What else? Look at our terror. In Psalm 27 says, though an army besiege me, my heart will not fear. Though war breaks out against me, even then I will be confident. David was sure that God was with him. In Psalm 56 says, in God whose word I praise, in God I trust, and not afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? Nothing that happened in this world is permanent. Because the only permanent thing we have is eternal life. If we hold on to our faith, if we hold on to the promise that God is with us, we will be okay. So when you are in greatest fear, remember Psalms 118 said that the Lord is with me, I will not be afraid. Let's not be afraid. Lastly, our time that we can control. Make the most of every opportunity that we have. In the days where everything is not right, do something. Reach out to people. Call your friend and say that I'm praying for you. If you have someone who's not doing well, reach out to them and say that what can I do to help you? Maybe someone who is not convenient to go out and buy or they are vulnerable. Go and buy food for them so that they don't have to expose themselves to the virus and help them. Right? There are so many ways you can help, and only you know where your community is. That could be your friends, your family, your neighbors, right? Your colleagues, people that you reach out to. It could be someone you meet in your corridors. What you can do in that little bit to make life a little bit more bearable for everyone. In Romans chapter 13 it says that understanding the present time, the hour has come for you to wake up from the slumber, because our salvation is near. Even in this time of crisis, let us remember, we as Adventists believe that God is going to come. Jesus is going to come back. We have to continue to work towards His salvation. And in this month of October, if you still have your book to distribute, now is the time to think of who else we can give that book to. And in a couple of weeks, we have a week of prayer to redevote our life, right? Reconnect back to God if we have forgotten that. Lastly, our treasure in heaven. Where your treasure is where your heart is. When you have great distress and you have great anxiety, don't forget God. God is still there. Remember, He's doing for us. I did this thought with you is that Jesus can control things that we cannot, and there are things that only He can do for us. So let's live this way. What would that be? Like Proverbs 21 says, in the lost hands the king's heart is a stream of water that he channels towards all that pleases him. Right? God can do things we cannot do. So let us not worry about things that we have no control over. Remember in John chapter 1 it said in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. God knows everything. God was from the beginning. Through Him all things were made, and without Him nothing was made that has been made. In Him was life, and that life was the life of all mankind. Remember, Jesus came on earth to represent God, to show what God is like, to show the character of God. And what did He show? He showed compassion. He showed that He understands us. When He lived through as a human being, He understands what we went through. So when your feelings of anxiety, your feelings of despair, your feeling of hopelessness, your feeling of I need help, Jesus understands. What are things that Jesus can control? Remember this. We are living in this earth that are sinful. Because we live in a troubled world, a world where we is separated from God. And if you remember the plan of salvation, which says that we have been separated from God, the only Jesus' sacrifice is the bridge that brings us back to God. So let us remember the role that Jesus has to play. And then we must not struggle on our own in our trouble, but that Jesus is the connection for us to go back to God. But let's not stop there, because when we realize we can reconcile back to God, we must take action. We must take that hope and share it around all those who need it. Today, if you say a kind word, you give a small helping hand to some person that needs it, that could make a big difference to their life. The world needs hope. We have too much sadness, we have too much tragedy, we have too many things that is not going right today. Let's reach out. Because God has saved us, we can share that joy all around us. Also remember, there are many fake news out there. There are many false rumors. There are many crazy stories out there. Stay with the truth. Because only the truth, right, will keep us sane, keep us stay on the common sense path. Also remember, what truth we know today, we know that we're living in the end times. But this virus is not going to end this world. It is maybe a sign and symptoms of the world's coming to an end. But this virus will not cause the whole world to stop. Eventually, it will turn the corner. Eventually, things will get better. So we have to hold on. We have to hang on to the faith that and the promises that the Bible has given us. Because eventually, if we follow the signs, things will get better. Remember, Jesus is in control. Let us remember, Jesus has walked with us on this earth. He understands us. If you are despair, He understands. If you are worried, He understands. If you feel hopelessness, ask Jesus for hope. It's only Jesus can give you the answers to your prayer. So, stay close to God, stay safe, have good self.
There's a land that is fairer than day, and by faith we can see it afar. For the Father waits over the way to prepare us a dwelling place there. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore by and by. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. We shall sing on that beautiful shore the melodious songs of the blessed, and our spirits shall sorrow no more, not a sigh for the blessing of rest. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore by and by. In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. To our bountiful Father above, we will offer the tribute of praise for the glory shore.